And this is Daryl Guberman, CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. Also assist in the implementation certification for ISO standards and their derivatives. This video today, by the way, I've got over 40 plus years in quality, in aerospace, medical implants, materials printing, and plastic distribution, where we dealt with every place: aerospace, automotive, electronics, etc., medical. So this video today is about FAA investigating titanium used in some Boeing and Airbus jets. QA expert Daryl Guberman explains. People familiar with the situation said it appeared that an employee of a Chinese company that sold the titanium had forged the details on the certificates, writing that the material came from another Chinese company, BRG Titanium Industries, a firm that often supplies verified titanium. I think one of their companies has verified titanium, another doesn't. So maybe there was a mix-up, maybe a manager was short to deliver, so they had them forged documents. I'm not saying it, but when you look at this, as a quality professional for over 40 plus years, anything is possible, especially when you see what we have. In April of this year, I went down to Capitol Hill to represent, basically, and support Sam Salipar, the gentleman who exposed the factor of the 777, 787 that have design issues. I have 2 documents plus other documents as well that I submitted to the head of the subcommittee, and that is Richard Blumenthal, Senator Blumenthal. I submitted some of the documentation. I have a lot more. And we are supporting Sam Salipar's allegations because they are factual. This is not a fraud. And I'm going to also say this. One of those documents is a supplier bulletin sent out to the suppliers that said that if you are AS 9100 certified per the ANSI and ANAB, the American National Standards Institute, and the American National Crediting Board. ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2018. If you're accredited by them, because Boeing sits on their board. Boeing sits on their board that can grant, suspend, and withdraw certification. They sit over by the FAA that granted them, Boeing, in 2009, FAA regulatory authority. That means their employees were working for the FAA, but getting paid by Boeing. You find something wrong with that? In fact, when that happened, David Calhoun over here, who's going to be inquisitioned on June 18th to the Senate subcommittee. He was sitting on their board of directors at that time when Boeing was made an FAA regulator. That means when he assumed position of CEO, that means he was an administrator of the FAA. Nobody can make this up, and the news media doesn't want to let this out. So let me just continue on, because it's absolutely deplorable. And by the way, that's for 22 years Boeing gave up supplier auditing to a piece of paper. And that's why not only, fudging documentation, Boeing just got caught in their Bell Boeing composite facility in Pennsylvania. The DOJ fined them $8.1 million for fudging documentation between 2007 and 2018 for 11 years. And it's been inherent in this issue of Boeing fudging documentation. So you're a supplier and you're seeing your customer fudging documentation, you follow suit with that, it appears, because this is what I feel has happened. This is the Biaggi Group, who said that they had nothing to do with the forging documentation. But if you look at it, here's the actual NADCAP cert, and look at the spelling of the name. And I will show this to you very briefly. There it is. Here's the spelling up here. There's the Biaggi Group, and here's it over here. Do you notice the spelling is different? One more time. But it's the same company. Do you understand that? And here it is. Here's one logo, and here's the other logo. But it's the same company under the same banner. One is basically the corporate, and one is a company that is in the satellite of the situation. On top of it, I dug deeper, and I've showed this to you before, ladies and gentlemen, and this, you have Boeing fudging documentation, Kobe Steel fudging documentation, and they're all accredited by accrediting bodies that are equivalent to the American National Standards Institute and the American National Accreditation Board, which are underwriters for these companies that sit on the International Accreditation Form incorporated in Delaware that is a repository for both national and international accreditation bodies. My feeling as a quality professional with over 40 years, somebody, why would they mention Biagi? Somebody at one of these companies possibly fudge documentation. Hey, look, if Boeing can do it, can't everybody? AOG Technics was a supplier of aircraft parts. And and you will find this in the description. You'll find all this information in the description. I'm just giving you a brief overview. And they were fudging documentation. You have Pfizer in the medical arena skipping quality processes. You have Johnson & Johnson doing the same, Moderna doing the same. And they all sit on ANSI's board over by federal agencies, like for Boeing, the FAA, for Lockheed, the FAA, Department of Transportation, for Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, FDA, USDA, FTC, and by the way, the FBI sits there too. When you hear Christopher Wray, who's the director of the FBI, give under Senate deposition that we must maintain vigilance over China. China is a nasty contender to the United States. And then you find out that the FBI sat on the IAF, who was controlled by China between 2015 and 21. Then can we say that Christopher Wray might be a spy? Who knows? Who knows? As a friend of mine of 50 plus years said, who's a quality professional, Rich, he said, Daryl, when these government agencies and these corporations are so close together, it's not hacking, it's giving our data away. And I thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you got the point there. My telephone number is 203-556-1493. And again, this video is about FAA investigating titanium used in some Boeing aircraft and Airbus jets. QA expert Daryl Guberman explains. If you need any more data on this, we have it. The news media doesn't want you to know that the Boeing was an FAA regulator between 2009 and present. Here you are also sitting your tail on an aircraft that may not have parts that were made by that supplier, because you know what the supplier many times do? They will take the blueprint, send it outside, possibly to China. They will make the parts, bring them back. The supplier will put their identification on it and hand it into Boeing. Because remember what Boeing says, send in your AS9100 cert and you're all set for 22 years. Unbelievable. Even on the supplier portal, it says ANSI, ANEB, or internationally equivalent. Unbelievable. I thank you, 203-556-1493, or Daryl, TQRS@yahoo.com. And as Confucius said, it is not the droplet of water that wears away the mighty stone, but it is its persistence. And David Foster Wallace said, the truth will set you free, but not until it is finished with you. And I thank you.